This final arc of the Clone Wars has just built up the atmosphere, foreboding, and dread over the past 2 episodes. The Phantom Apprentice especially had me feeling terrified for what was to come. We've known Order 66 would happen eventually, and today it did. Again, but we'll get to that. Things start on Mandalore with the continuation of Maul's capture. Bo-Katan and Ahsoka share a nice moment. When they first met, they were adversaries on Karlak. Now they're friends, but the Mandalorian wishes she were good at anything besides being a soldier. But Ahsoka encourages her to be a new kind of leader for her people. Unfortunately, I don't think she's going to get to truly do that until Star Wars Rebels when she gets the Darksaber, but then again, that's just a symbol. We know she fights for her people against the Empire once they take over, so maybe she does become that new kind of leader. Someone to lead the Mandalorians in a fight worth fighting, rather than a fight just for the sake of it like the way they used to be. Duchess Satine was kind of the opposite swing of the pendulum for the Mandalorians. They went from completely violent to completely pacifist, and I think what we're seeing with Bo-Katan and in the Mandalorian series is that culture finding some balance. Also, seeing Bo-Katan look out over her people and the destruction of Maul's war makes me wonder if his actions actually led to the Empire's ability to take over at all. Not only do some Mandalorians like Gar Saxon betray their people, but they've all been so weakened and wearied by this siege that the Empire was probably able to just swoop in with no problem. But let's get back to Ahsoka. Before leaving Mandalore, she gets to hop on a call with the Jedi Council right after a conversation we see in Revenge of the Sith. Mace senses a plot to destroy the Jedi, which I've always been like, yeah, no duh, dude, but now we have even more context to that line. Maul was just telling Ahsoka about the plan. She might be the Jedi that knows the most about this plot Mace is sensing, but oh yeah, she's not a Jedi, she's a citizen, so Mace doesn't give her the time of day. He was this close to getting some sort of clue as to what's coming, but he can't get over himself to admit any kind of wrongdoing to her. What if he had apologized? What if he had listened to what she had to say, or told her what the council knew? Maybe things would have gone differently, but instead he just acts catty that Ahsoka had the audacity to leave the Order. The next major scene I want to talk about is between Ahsoka and Rex. Maul is secured on their ship in what I'm going to call Old Republic Carbonite, a little Mandalorian cell for Force users, and everything beyond that is just so eerie. I don't think any clone speaks outside of Rex. In fact, I don't think any clone speaks except for Rex until after Order 66 happens. They all just salute or nod at Ahsoka, but it feels so quiet and dreadful. Ahsoka and Rex share words about their lives as soldiers, and I love what he says about having mixed feelings about the war. Of course, he doesn't want all this carnage to happen, but he also wouldn't exist without it. One of the best things the Clone Wars has done these past 7 seasons is humanize the clones. We're used to seeing the white-armored troopers of the Star Wars movies as faceless cannon fodder, and that may be even more true for the clones, but the Clone Wars makes sure we know that just because someone was grown on Kamino, that doesn't make them any less of a person. That's a message behind a lot of great science fiction stories like Blade Runner or Battlestar Galactica. What does it mean to be human? The replicants and Cylons of those stories are meant to show us it doesn't matter how you were created or what your origins are, you still matter. It's just one more reminder for not only Rex, but all the clones that these aren't the mindless drones they're about to be turned into. When Order 66 finally does go off, it is chilling. Seeing Rex's helmet shake in his hands, knowing that he's fighting it as much as he possibly can, I love that. I would guess that what he went through with Fives tipped him off and gave him some sort of resistance, just knowing that something wasn't right even if he didn't know exactly what. And there's actually precedent for that in the Kanan comics, where a clone is able to be convinced that Order 66 was against his will. The spell is broken, so to speak, and he snaps out of it. I thought Rex's head bump was going to do the trick, but I'm glad it didn't. I wanted to see Rex hunting Ahsoka. I loved that game of cat and mouse because he gave her just enough information to save them both. People have pointed out that in Star Wars Rebels, Rex says he didn't betray his Jedi, and while it might be a bit of a retcon, I think that still holds up. He did everything he possibly could to save her, even as he was losing control of his mind. I love the transition from Rex's helmet into Maul's holding cell, which depicts a Mandalorian helmet on it. Bo-Katan references the history of Mandalorians fighting Jedi, and of course the clones are all cloned from a Mandalorian. I don't care what Olmec says about the Fets. It's a subtle reminder that the clones were ultimately created to be Jedi killers, so why not clone them from someone who follows the creed of a culture that once fought the Jedi all the time? I also loved Ahsoka freeing Maul. Anytime a bad guy has to team up with the good guys, I am on board. I wouldn't have minded seeing them actively work together a little bit more. I don't know why, but I really wanted to see Maul holding a blue lightsaber, but I wouldn't want to sacrifice Ahsoka's sass with him. The "I'm not rooting for you" line is so good. She's not freeing Maul to save him, she's freeing him to save Rex. Maybe it's because we just recently watched the Mortis arc, but I am getting strong Anakin vibes from her, which of course makes sense, she is his Padawan, but when Ahsoka is turned to the dark side by the sun and then dies, Anakin refuses to give up hope. Rex is going through something very similar. Her friends is in trouble and she's not going to just abandon him. Sending Maul potentially to his death is questionable, but I mean, she's no Jedi, just a citizen. It's not like there's any Jedi council around to punish her anyway. Too soon? Sorry. And Mauls Rampage is brutal. It's all technically in self-defense, but it's also still rough to watch just because of what I said earlier. Those clones are still people, and they're just being cut down left and right. It's very reminiscent of the Vader hallway scene in Rogue One. And then there's another Rogue One reference when Ahsoka uses the Force to reach Rex, and together they chant, "I am one with the Force is with me," proving that deep down Rex is still in there. Of course Ahsoka rescues him, and he in turn rescues her. Our two main heroes for this arc are reunited, but there's still an army of clones and a rogue Sith Lord between them and safety, and that's how the episode ends. This episode was, yet again, stellar. I love how this arc seems to be inspired by all of the lessons of not only the Clone Wars, but of all of Star Wars. Hope, friendship, the belief that more can be accomplished by working together rather than against each other. I'm so relieved we only have to wait 3 more days to see the end of this story, but I'm also just sad to see it end. But what a way to go out. Let me know what you thought of Shattered in the comments. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and consider checking out our Patreon page where we're releasing audio commentaries for all these new episodes. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.